Welcome, everyone, to the Crown Athletics IndyCar Series. We arrive on the West Coast for a race at a track as throwback as some of the paint schemes we'll see tonight. We arrive to Willow Springs International Raceway. Big Willow 2.5-mile road course. Not often used. We'll see it twice this year, with the HTL Cup Series also coming to Rosamond, California. But it all begins right here in the Crown Athletics IndyCar Series, their 6th race of the season out of 18 this season. We're glad you're with us here for CART on ABN. Before we get too awful engrossed in the action tonight, a shout out to all of our Patreon subs, our premier tier supporters: Trade Up Slogan, Dogman2935, Eli Sasick, Jason Scott, Alfred Denny, Weekend Hobby 22, Philip Snipes, Tyler Head, B-Dogs, Colin McDonough, Blue, KJ Gibney, J-Paw, and Jake Kotak. Thank you all for your support. Whether you've been here a year, whether you've been here a few months, whether you just jumped into the month of May, your support is greatly appreciated. Also, huge shout out to everyone that's subscribed via ABN Plus on Patreon. All those names at the bottom of your screen. We'll scroll throughout the evening here. If you want to join the party, QR code's at the bottom right of your screen. Also in the description down below is the link to the Patreon. A lot of special stuff coming up here between this month and our anniversary next month. You're not going to miss some of the exclusive content there. Also early access into special events, such as ABN's anniversary race coming up at the end of July. Qualifying is now underway. Time's becoming a little bit more prevalent on the board. So let's jump into it. Rick Ravon. Currently top of the chart here, ahead of Tucker Sawyer and Nick Pressey. Ravon not a part of the Brickyard Grand Prix, the last road course, ironically the first road course race of the season. He has won every race since. He has gone 4 in a row. Tucker Sawyer won that opening race in Indianapolis and is currently trying to find a quarter second. The Texan going around right now, his best lap of 101.970. His last lap a little under a second slower. Nicholas Pressey sitting at a 102.3. He has done his warm-up lap. He is now on a flyer. And his Team Menard throwback to 1999. Pole sitter for the Brickyard Grand Prix back in April. Only completed 3 corners before crashing out due to a technical failure. Second road course of the season. Looking to have some solid results here. By Flowers just goes a little bit faster. Pressey goes for a wild ride out of the last corner. A lot of run up here, and Pressey will reset. Marlo Duncan in 5th, a 102.525. Bobby Blowers was the driver that jumped to the 3rd position. Your defending CART champion, a 102.3 for him. Also on the racetrack is Mirabella Viscali, 102.9 as she goes off track. And rally racing here in Rosamond. Ryan Edwards, 11th fastest, did not have the best gateway race a week ago. Looking to shrug that off here. Would love to get into the top 10 to start. David Cook Jr. Yet set a lap time here. Ravon, your current provisional pole sitter, said that he was the guy to look out for here come this week in Willow Springs. We'll see if that's the case. Down the front straightaway to the start-finish line goes David Cook Jr. Fifth fastest, 102.4. Oh, Duncan running 6th, 102.5, now on a flying lap. See what she can do. Rover currently running in the 7th position at the moment. Just now completed a out lap here, now on a flying lap. And 2.5 for him has put him into the 7th position on the starting grid. See if he can improve on his lap time here. Move up the racetrack a little bit. DJ Trout sitting 8th fastest, a full second behind Rick Ravon. David Cook Jr. is finding time, now up into the 2nd position. .101.9. Second driver to join the 101s. Tucker Sawyer also in the 101s now. 101.97 for Sawyer. And David Cook Jr. will reset and move back to pit lane. Tucker Sawyer, see if he can take back that 2nd spot or go for provisional pole. It's getting a little bit closer there. You still got to try to get a 101.7. Sawyer comes down pit lane. Ravon, 101.7 on an out lap right now. Looks like Ravon will stand aside for a second. Nick Pressey in 5th fastest at the moment with a little under 6 minutes. 6 minutes to go. Doing a little bit of tire warm up, it looks like. Before giving it a solid go. Scally coming across our finish line to complete a lap, currently 10th fastest. Now on a flying lap with 5 minutes to go. See if I can run on board with somebody real quick. See if I can run on board with Tucker Sawyer. There you go. Tucker Sawyer on board. Now on a flying lap. 14th at lap time so far. Blue Jade, Casey Ellis. Currently set at the back of the field, 15th and 16th here in qualifying. Well, 101.970 for Tucker Sawyer. Again, quarter second away from the pole sitter, Rick Ravon. 3.3 minutes to go. Rick Ravon just improved. 101.6. There is time in the racetrack here in Willow Springs. Tucker Sawyer, his flying lap. Not good enough right now. Gonna give it another go. 102.869 for Sawyer. It's now in the hands of David Cook Jr. Can he respond to Ravon's improvement? No, he almost matched his personal best, though. 101.917 the last lap there for David Cook Jr. Rick Ravon, 101.596. Talk about stretching your legs just a little bit here. Impressive stuff there for Ravon. David Cook Jr. resetting. He's going to have one more go at it by Blowers in pit lane. Looks like his qualifying effort might be done. And he will start no higher than fourth. Sawyer trying to improve from the second row of the grid. Nick Pressey trying to improve from the third row. And goes wide. And goes for a wild hop. And is now beached. And you see him reset there as Tucker Sawyer makes his way through. A little bit of traffic on this lap for Sawyer. A little bit of dirty air. DJ Trout goes fourth fastest. Nebraska native goes for a flip, too. Tucker Sawyer, what can he do? In that 97 for Ascent Racing. Out of the final corner, down the front, straight away towards start-finish line. Still not good enough, 102.0. He's only going to have one more lap at this. Everyone but Frazier qualifying on the alternate compound, the softer red wall tire. Frazier on the primary, the black wall, the harder tire. And to use both in this race. Less than 20 seconds left in qualifying. You will get to finish your lap if you're on the racetrack and you cross start finish line before those 10 seconds are up. C-minus 10, 7, 6, 5. What a snap from Sawyer, and he gives up the ghost. Pressey gets one more go. Only two drivers on laps now. Pressey and Roberg. Roberg halfway through his lap. Looking to improve from the fourth row. Goes wide, won't do so. Tried carrying too much speed in that last corner and goes for a spin. Pressey through the Omega section is what we called it back on Gran Turismo. The dipper at the top of the hill here. And you cascade down from there. Losing elevation. Using gravity to sort of gain speed on your way to the approach for this last corner. That you've got to hit millimeter perfect. Pressy, a little bit conservative on the exit there. Can he go from 6th any higher? 102.3, 101.839. Front row for the second consecutive road course for Nick Pressy. Well done, Nick Pressy, from 6th to 2nd on the last lap. Gave it a go there. Fantastic job. And that will bring qualifying to a close. And now it's just the Grand Prix left to run. All right, so let's quickly go over the starting grid here for the Kart Grand Prix of Rosamond. Rick Ravon, Nick Pressy, front of the field as we get ready to go here in California. Your second row, David Cook Jr. and Tucker Sawyer. Keep an eye out for both of them here from row 2 on the grid. DJ Trout in 5th alongside the reigning kart champion, Bobby Blowers, in row number 3. Annie Duncan and Martin Roberg in row number 4. Top 10 is rounded out by the rookie Brandon Statton and Lance Anthony here in Rosamond. Brian Edwards and Mirabella Viscali start outside the top 10, 11th and 12th for them. 13th and 14th, William Rucker and Lily Frazier, the only car on primary tires, starting 14th. Blue Jade and Casey Ellis will make up the last row of the 16-car field if they take the start. We'll see if there's any ambition for them to do so. Looks like the final row, Casey Ellis and Blue Jade, will not take the start here. So we'll have 14 here on the offset for 45 laps. Casey Ellis does join in late, so you have 15 cars. You hear the revs begin to climb. Standing start is underway, and here comes the Grand Prix of Rosamond. Slow start from Pressy, fast start from Sawyer. But not enough to get the launch into turn 2, and everyone's going to go for it. Blowers goes off. So does Duncan. And Duncan goes a little bit wide. Blowers goes a little bit wide, but they all stay in the right direction here. And the Grand Prix of Rosamond is underway. Ravon leads the way, your pole sitter. Ahead of David Cook Jr., Nick Pressy has been leapfrogged early from 2nd to 4th on this opening lap. Further back, DJ Trout sitting in 5th. Then it's Lance Anthony, Brandon Statton, Brian Edwards, Mirabella Viscali, and Annie Duncan, your top 10. Bobby Blowers in 11th, Martin Roberg in 12th. Then it's Lily Frazier behind William Rucker, your top 14. Casey Ellis in 15th. Slow off the line. Still finding their bearings here as Rick Ravon leads the opening lap. Here comes Sawyer. The Ascent Racing driver looking for a second win. Ravon goes wide. Here comes David Cook Jr. And it's a dogfight at the front of the field between Cook, Sawyer, Ravon, and Pressy. Your pole sitter now down to 4th. Sorry, Ravon recovered to 3rd, stayed ahead of Pressy. Your front row, though, 3rd and 4th. Your second row now leads the way. Look from the row bar. of Tucker Sawyer as he chases down David Cook Jr. A bit of grass there, clipping the outside. Intense start here at the front of the field. You see Blue Jade made the racetrack here. Bottom order of the field at the moment. Missed the start. And Blue Jade going to let the leaders go on through. Smart thing to do. And Blue Jade actually goes off the racetrack there. We'll let more go through here. Ryan Edwards had an issue in his race. It's over before lap 2. What happened to Brian Edwards here? This is from high above. Goes for a bit of a ride. Oh, he was beached. He beached it. That's devastating. David Cook Jr. continues to lead the way here in Rosamond. David Cook Jr. has already used a ton of push to pass here. Most have used about 5 seconds, if at all. David Cook Jr. has already used 27 seconds of push to pass. And these four are under a blanket from Cook to Pressy. Pressy losing a little bit of ground there, being stuck in the dirty air. David Cook Jr. using the push to pass to defend mostly from Tucker Sawyer and Rick Ravon. Cook trying to keep himself ahead. Pressy trying to close back in, use a little bit of push to pass there. Casey Ellis has entered pit lane here and has been stationary now for about 40 seconds and counting. More push to pass being used by David Cook Jr. He has now used over 40 seconds. 45 seconds and counting used for David Cook Jr. You get 200 seconds of push to pass per race on the road and street courses. He's used 45 seconds already, and we are on lap 5. That is the pace he has had to maintain to stay ahead of Tucker Sawyer and Rick Ravon here. We're going to see if he's able to hold out here. Tucker Sawyer has used 1 second to push to pass. Ravon has not yet touched the button. Pressy has used 11 seconds of push to pass. Typically, push to pass wouldn't be a conversation until later on in this race. But with David Cook Jr. already using almost 50 seconds of push to pass, that's almost 25%. And there he goes on the button again. Now he's used more than 25% of his push to pass availability. It does make you question the long-run game here for David Cook Jr. as he tries to stay ahead of two very, very fast road course racers behind him. Nick Pressy in fourth. I would say Pressy's not in a bad spot. He's just not able to keep up with the race leaders at the moment. 1.6 behind the race leader. Push to pass being used by Staton and by Blowers. Blowers who went off on lap 1. trying to close in on Martin Roberg to get back into the top 10. Here you see them, as well as Frazier and Rucker. Sawyer really sliding around the top of the hill. Really trying to stay there with the 71. More push to pass being used by Pressey and by Cook. David Cook Jr. has used 65 seconds. It is insane. Here's what the push to pass numbers look like right now. Number of seconds remaining for every driver in this field. Edwards is not in this race anymore. Casey Ellis is in pit lane. But those are updated numbers. And when they're on the button, you'll see those numbers go down. We'll leave that on for a lap, so you can kind of see what they're dealing with here. David Cook Jr. staying off the button this time, and you're seeing how much closer Tucker Sawyer is able to follow in that 97. He's going to light up the button off the top of the hill. Pressey, did he just go a little bit for a loop? Almost. Saved a half spin, but that'll cost him more time. He's now 4 seconds away from the front of the field. Not able to replicate that qualifying pace. More button usage for David Cook Jr. 75 seconds used for David Cook Jr. Mascali on the button, it looks like. No, Blowers is, excuse me. Cook on the button again. Drivers all over the place. Duncan in the fence. Front straightaway out at the last corner. Annie Duncan in the fence. Back on the racetrack, but down in 11th place. William Rucker also struggling just a little bit. Down in 13th. Some off tracks there for us to keep an eye on as some drivers struggle. Would not be surprised if Duncan makes a trip down pit lane at some point. A lot of push to pass being used here. We have just now started lap 10 of 45 here in California. It is Cook, Sawyer, and Ravon, your top three, and then a 4-second difference down to Nick Pressey, who has struggled with this particular part of the racetrack. Trying to keep up with the race leaders. Easier said than done. David Cook Jr., he is struggling to keep pace at the front of the field without push to pass. He has used now 93 seconds. Reminder, Sawyer's used 1 second, Ravon's used none. Once that push to pass is gone, it is gone. All that Cook will have left is the hybrid. That is what Sawyer and Ravon are leaning on right now, is the hybrid to keep touch. The hybrid does not produce as much horsepower as push to pass, but with the hybrid, you get to use every lap. It doesn't matter how much you use, you get to use it every lap. You just have to regenerate it, and you regenerate it under braking. So you get to use it a couple times per lap here. The hybrid gets you about 45 horsepower. Push to pass gets you about 65 horsepower. So there is a pretty significant difference. You can feel that difference, and obviously if you use it in tandem, like what David Cook Jr. is doing, it's a pretty big ordeal. That gets you about 100 extra horsepower as Ravon gets around Sawyer. Sawyer had a hiccup through the top of the hill, and your pole sitter is now back up to second place, but they have now dropped more than a second to David Cook Jr., who has used 102 seconds of push to pass. Ravon runs a little wide, grabs the sand with those left side tires. And could this be an instance of Sawyer using up more of his tire than what was available? We'll find out. Multiple cars off track. Frazier, Duncan, and others off track. It is a bedlam here in the mid-pack. Roberg, Viscali, all in this conversation. Duncan. Frazier runs wide. Roberg shuts the door on Duncan. Viscali trying to find a way around Frazier. A little bit of contact, and Frazier runs wide. I think so did Viscali. And indeed, both of them run wide into the entry up the hill. And they lose out on the top 10 battle with Blowers, Roberg, and Duncan. Whoa! Frazier turned by Viscali again. And Viscali's lost all of her front wing, and will come down pit lane for repairs. And that's a crab walking 13, so both of them come down pit lane. I'll take a look at that accident in just a moment. Absolutely wild stuff there. David Cook Jr. is still leading this race, but has lost a little bit of time. He has now used 127 seconds of push to pass in 13 laps. He is using that like it is out of style. As we start lap 14 of 45. We'll take a look at what happened here between Viscali and Frazier. It's a two-part saga. Both of them side by side, making contact, and they both end up missing the apex, going up the hill into what we call the Omega Complex, just how it's shaped. And you're not necessarily going to make that from either Viscali or Frazier's perspective. Viscali still on pit lane, Frazier back on the racetrack. It's around Frazier here. The stewards ought to be a judge of that one, I think. Viscali has failed to. Is now classified as failed to finish. It is race over for the 72. As you see the battles for the race lead intensifying once more. Frazier a lap down, still circulating. Do not envy the series officials that'll have to look at that post-race. David Cook Jr., front of the field by 3/4 of a second, has used 146 seconds of push to pass and is still losing time to Rick Ravon and Tucker Sawyer. But all three of them have lit up the racetrack and gotten away from Nick Pressey, who sits in fourth by about 6 seconds. Further 3 seconds back until you find DJ Trout. Brandon Statton sits in the 6th position ahead of Lance Anthony in a battle for that top 6 position. It's the rookie and the veteran. And here comes Lance Anthony peeking around the outside of the 51. And Lance Anthony goes on through. Ravon using push to pass for the first time today. So is David Cook Jr. at the front of the field. As these two go side by side through the Omega section, showing that it is possible to go side by side through this section. And down the hill they go, and that is Lance Anthony up into the 6th spot. The Indiana native up 4 places from where he started. Bobby Blowers down 2 spots, trying to recover from that lap 1 off. Now back up into the 8th position. William Rucker in 9th. Martin Roberg in 10th. Willie Frazier sitting in the 11th spot. And then it's Blue Jade in 12th. Both of them a lap down. Annie Duncan is race over for the 12. So we're down to 12 runners here in 17 laps out of 16 starters. Attrition is slapped early, 4 cars out here in Rosamond. 30 seconds to push to pass left for David Cook Jr. And it has not helped him too awful much. Tucker Sawyer has used up those tires pretty well. Those red wall alternates, if you abuse them, you're not going to really get them back, and that's what he's feeling right now. He used up a lot of those tires early and is now paying the tire debt. The grip tax is what we call it typically. And you're going to see some of the information there on the right side of your screen. The weather. A lot of wind here, 32-mile-an-hour wind. And it's a crosswind down the front straightaway. It's 7 degrees. The air temperature, the track temp, though, 98 degrees. 31-degree difference from the air to the track. We've seen worse, but it's not a great ratio. David Cook Jr. is down to 18 seconds of push to pass. It is alarming how much push to pass he is using to try to stay ahead of Rayvon and Sawyer, who have not used much of theirs. Rayvon has used a decent amount recently. Tucker Sawyer's only used 6 seconds. Rayvon's used 25. Both of them to the positive. More push to pass being used by both Cook and Rayvon. 1.2 second gap here. The pit stops, I do not believe, are too far away. To kind of put things in perspective, you'd want to try to balance things out. You want to try to give yourself about 10 seconds of push to pass to use every 2 laps. Or about 5 seconds a lap is what you want to use. That's what you want to average. David Cook Jr. is down to 3 seconds of push to pass, and that is abysmal usage. Lance Anthony's used 70 seconds. Cressy's used 45. And David Cook Jr., there you see the number is now hit 0. He is out of push to pass. All that he will have now is hybrid. The 45 horsepower hybrid system is all he will have, whereas Rayvon will have the full array. And you see how much he's closed in. That difference in horsepower is significant. It is not nothing. Running on board with Rayvon. Ooh, a little snappy there at turn 1. They have both walked away pretty handily from Tucker Sawyer here in this first stint. But unfortunately, it's only a one-stop race, it looks like here. Ravon, you see him on the button. You saw the dashboard light up yellow. Gets to the side-by-side, but the inside still protected. Ooh. And here they go side-by-side down the front straightaway, and this is where the 100-horsepower advantage comes into play. Ravon, your pole sitter, back out in front to start lap 22. But David Cook Jr. uses the over-under on him through turn 2 and turn 3. Keeping the pressure applied. He's going to have to use a lot of slipstream here. Ravon's not going to be super aggressive on the push-to-pass just yet, I don't think. He's used 50 seconds. Not quite using it yet. We'll see if he uses it here. No push-to-pass uses here. Now there's some push-to-pass. A little late on the deployment there, I think, for Ravon. Just trying to open up the gap a little bit. 3/10 at the front of the field. And David Cook Jr. just sitting there with him. Staying right there with him. There you go. Looks to the inside. Ravon holds the middle of the racetrack. David Cook Jr. to the inside, right on that white line. Still gripping up really well late on these tires. Both of them on the red wall. You see the red wall on both these cars, the alternate compound. That will fall apart a little bit quicker than the primary. Frazier was the only car on the primary, moved to the alternates with that pit stop after that collision with Viscali. Blauer's in pit lane, and it looks like coming out of pit lane now. Frazier still has a stop to make. Cannot make this without stopping again. Blauer's just came out of pit lane and just went off track. That is out of turn 1. And we'll lose a spot to Blue Jay. David Cook Jr. down pit lane. Is this a 2-stop race? Questions. Not easy to answer here. Starting lap 24. You should be on 1 stop here. You should reasonably be on 1 stop. You're getting off the alternates to the primary tire. You should be 1 stop. But David Cook Jr. going for an undercut. Will not have push-to-pass to use to get up to speed. We'll have to just rely on the hybrid. Rick Ravon, let's see if he uses push-to-pass here. Not quite. No push-to-pass for Ravon. Push-to-pass for Sawyer, but not Ravon. Looks like they might be coming down pit lane this time as a response to the 71. And here comes Ravon down pit lane on the end of lap 24. Sawyer comes down pit lane as well. Ooh, almost hit the attenuator, but still got a speeding penalty. And that is a stop and a hold for Tucker Sawyer. A stop and hold for Sawyer for speeding in pit lane. Pressy is in, and safely so. Lance Anthony moves to the front of the field. Did not lead that lap because of the gap between him and Ravon as he came down pit lane. But Anthony stays out longer. Staton in second also stays out. Ravon. Whoa, a little step out for him on cold tires. David Cook Jr., this is his chance. Warm tires versus cold tires on those primaries. David Cook Jr. back out in front. 4th right now on the road. Anthony, Staton, and Rucker need to come down pit lane still. Anthony out in front by 8 seconds, almost 9 seconds over the rookie, Brandon Staton. Anthony is in. Brandon Statton comes down pit lane now, and here comes David Cook Jr. William Rucker off track on his way to pit lane. The top two back in the dogfight here. And here comes Ray Vaughn. Sweeps around the inside. David Cook Jr. tried to over-under, almost lost it there in turn one. And your pole sitter back out in front. And this is where David Cook Jr. will feel that losing that push to pass battle early. Pressy, it looks like, still on the alternate tire, looks like here. Not sure what's going on there. And Tucker Sawyer's had an issue of some sort. And it looks like it might be day done. We'll see what happened. We'll see if we can grab a replay. But one of your favorites to try to win this race is out after 25 laps. Roberg down pit lane. And just like that, we're down to 11 cars circulating out of 16 starters here in California. Ray Vaughn and Cook, your front runners here at the moment, giving us a pretty wild show. Elsewhere, it is a battle of attrition and survival of the fittest, with less than 20 laps to go. Let's take a look at what happened to Tucker Sawyer. This is losing it in the final corner. No contact, just gave up the ghost there. Decided that that was enough. Overly frustrated, not racing for the championship, deciding to cut his losses and call it quits. Which is unfortunate because he was part of a really fun battle there. The gap between these two and third place Nick Pressy, almost 12 seconds. Up the road just a little bit is Frazier, who came down pit lane on lap 12. Will need to come down pit lane a second time, but right now, currently, his last car on the lead lap in 8th. Blue Jay down pit lane. I believe this is for standard service for the 03. Ravon with a 120-second push to pass lap advantage can kind of just pepper it and stay ahead as Frazier comes down pit lane and goes back a lap down to make her final stop in this race. I think the positive right now for Frazier is that there's still a guaranteed top 10 on the cards if she can keep the car running from here with 17 laps to go. Ravon, Cook, Pressy, Trout, and William Rucker, your top 5. And then it's Brandon Statton, Lance Anthony, your last car on the lead lap here. See Nick Pressy here sitting in third. A little bit distant, but giving it a go. DJ Trout sitting in 4th, the Nebraska native. Trying to close in on Pressy for that last spot on the podium. William Rucker in 5th. Sitting on an island as well, 3 seconds ahead of Brandon Statton. Brandon Statton, the Alabama native, just 1.5 ahead of Lance Anthony, who sits as the last car on the lead lap. Bobby Blauer's first car off the lead lap. Not going to see a caution to get back on that lead lap. But will sit right now currently in the 8th position. Willie Frazier after pit stop running really wide. And that might be day done for Frazier. And that's an unfortunate end here as Lance Anthony goes wide in the same position. through the final corner. And we'll lose time to Brandon Staton there. We are down to 10 runners in this race. Ravon, Cook, Pressey, Trout, Rucker, your top 5, coming to 15 laps to go. Ravon has opened up a little over a second to David Cook Jr., who's used up all his push-to-pass. That was the running story in the first half of this race, how quickly he used 200 seconds of push-to-pass. It'll be interesting to talk to him at the end of this race to see sort of what that process was and why using it early. Ravon leads the way and has opened up a 1.25 second gap. Nick Pressey sitting even further back, 15 seconds adrift of the race leader. See if we can pull up a map here. This is where everyone's located on the racetrack here at Willow Springs. Nick Pressey just now going to the top of the hill. Pretty far and away from your front runners at the moment. Ravon sitting in first ahead of David Cook Jr. They're now approaching, going through the final corner. We saw Pressey in third, DJ Trout half a lap behind in fourth. William Rucker in fifth, just now top of the hill. On his way down ahead of Brandon Staton and Lance Anthony equidistant. Fifth, sixth, and seventh on the racetrack. Bobby Blauer's first car a lap down, just now going through the last corner. And they got Blue Jade just now approaching the top of the hill, sitting in ninth. With Martin Roberg going through turn one in 10th. Car down pit lane is William Rucker. And he's hit the wall. He's hit the wall. On the entrance to pit lane, William Rucker has slammed the inside wall. A huge hit for William Rucker. He drops from the top 5. Will use the quick repair that he's got, but will lose a lot of time and lost that top 5 handily so. Coming to 11 laps to go for the race leaders. Coming to 11 to go. Rick Ravon leads the way, looking to go 5 in a row. Only David Cook Jr. able to stop him at the moment. And it's not close, almost 20 seconds from second to third. Jr. trying to keep touch here. It's an admirable position to be in. Trying to hang in there. Riding on board with them. As they come to 10 laps to go. Lap car about to sort of stand aside. It looks like that is William Rucker, and it is. Letting the leaders go on through. Nick Cressy has stopped pushing too awful hard. He kind of realizes that he's not going to catch these two. But likewise, he's pulling away from DJ Trout. So he's just bringing that car home in third at the moment, it looks like. Ravon doing just enough right now to stay ahead of the 71. Six cars on the lead lap. Flowers in seventh, the only car one lap down. 10 cars still running. Nine laps to go. Challenging race. It's been a challenging race from the very start. The dust settles. We still have the same people at the front of the field that have been there from the start. David Cook Jr. started third. Rick Ravon started from pole. Pressy started second. Sits third. They've never really left those positions here. Despite the push-to-pass advantage, Ravon's not pulled away from David Cook Jr. at all. It stayed a pretty consistent 7/10 gap here between your top two. I think the question now is who's better on those primary tires in the long run here. Is it going to be Ravon or is it going to be Cook? The primary tire a little bit more robust than the alternate tire, which I think is where David Cook Jr.'s race kind of fell apart. He couldn't keep running the pace he was running on the alternates, whereas he's had to run the same pace on the primary. He hasn't had much of a choice. Consistent distancing at the top of the running order. David Cook Jr. a little bit better there in turn one, it looks like. Looks like the first sector of the lap, I think, is where David Cook Jr. is really a lot better. We'll see if that's the case. Closed down to about 6/10 there for a moment. Has a chance to close down a little bit more. Down the hill they go. Half a second is the gap. A good drafting distance as they approach the final two corners of the lap. Ravon now using push to pass. Realized that 71 was getting a little close. Still has 100 seconds remaining. But the reason why, David Cook Jr. just set the fastest lap of the race, 102.018. So he is cooking a little bit now. That is fastest lap here in Rosamond. New fastest lap, William Rucker, lap down, 102.004. But he has burnt all of his push-to-pass in that process trying to set that lap time. Whereas David Cook Jr. set his without push-to-pass at all. It's still close here. Rick Ravon held up a little bit by traffic. David Cook Jr. will also be held up a little bit by Brandon Staton. But they both sweep on through. Now they've got to get around, leave. That's Lance Anthony, it is. And he lets both of them go through. But the gap is closed for just a moment. 4/10 and closing. And Ravon realizes it. Now he's on the push-to-pass button pretty hard. David Cook Jr., all he has is hybrid deployment. And Ravon just trying to keep that gap at about half a second or better. Gap opening up a little bit now. 6/10. 4 laps to go. Ravon trying to feel a little more comfortable here. Could be a battle for the podium spot Nick Pressey currently occupies. Only 4 cars on the lead lap. And DJ Trout's trying to not be the last one on the lead lap here. We'll see how that plays out across these last 3 laps. Ravon on push to pass again out of the last corner. Just trying to keep David Cook Jr. at bay. DJ Trout trying to close in on Nick Pressey. It's still a 3-second gap. He's got to close in a lot to battle for that podium spot. But he's giving it his all at the moment. In 4th place, nothing to laugh at either for the 93. Pressey in 3rd. Just has to keep that car clean and bring it home without losing too much pace. Issues that Pressey is not having a fun time. His last lap, a 104.9. That is off the pace by a pretty substantial margin. Compared to DJ Trout's 103. Pressey's lap even slower, 105.1. Compared to DJ Trout's 104.1. They're both on the alternate tire as well, so their tires have fallen apart pretty handily here. New fastest lap, David Cook Jr. once again with 2 laps to go, 101.7. Both the 7 and the 71 have broken into the 101s. In pursuit of a race win. For Ravon, it'd be a historic 5 in a row. David Cook Jr. has a chance to break that streak. Ravon said, keep an eye on the 71 at Willow Springs. And he wasn't kidding. Trout's within 1.4, 1.3 seconds of Pressey. It is game on for the podium places as we approach the final lap. This race, if you got it, you use it. Out of the last corner, approaching the white flag. 1 lap to go in Willow Springs. Ravon leads Cook. And a half a lap behind is a battle for 3rd. This is going to be close. It's close for everybody. Pressey makes a mistake. Trout to 3rd. They're coming to the white flag lap this time. But Pressey has given up the ghost and he's lost 3rd. His tires couldn't withstand anymore. And he will have to limp home in fourth. Ray Vaughn now using all those push to pass that he had saved up to try to get to the finish line first. It has been a duel in the desert, but rounding this final corner and heading for home, it's going to be a historic 5 in a row. Rick Ray Vaughn, he takes Willow Springs. He wins in Rosamond. David Cook Jr. triumphantly battling to the end will finish second. But a phenomenal job for Rick Ray Vaughn, making history in the Crown Athletics IndyCar Series 5 in a row for that number 7 machine. DJ Trout will complete the podium places, and we'll talk to him for the first time in almost 2 years when he comes around to finish in third place. Nick Presti having to limp around on worn tires in fourth, missing out on the podium here after starting so well, starting on the front row, could not keep up the heroics. DJ Trout finishes third. But it's all about Rick Ray Vaughn, your race winner here in Willow Springs. Historic is the only word you can use to describe how this played out. He parks it on that start-finish line. It looks like he might do burnouts, maybe. But a phenomenal race for the number 7, who parks it on the podium. A fun battle all race long between Ray Vaughn and Cook. Presti couldn't keep up, and Tucker Sawyer a speeding penalty, and then a spin later on, costing everything here in Willow Springs. Your top 10, though, they did see the finish from Ray Vaughn to Martin Roberg in 10th. An absolutely wild, wild race. We'll let the drivers debrief for a second before we bring them in. DJ Trout, Rick Ray Vaughn. See if we can hear from David Cook Jr. here. That was electric. DJ Trout started this race in the 5th position and somehow came away with a podium. Got it with a little under 2 laps to go for him. The leaders had taken the white flag already, but that was all that was needed. Let's go ahead and talk to someone who we've not talked to in over a year and a half. Last time we talked to him, he was victorious at Watkins Glen and HTL. We talked to him on the podium here in the IndyCar Series at Willow Springs. DJ Trout, that was a wild race, a podium finish at the very end. Walk us through it, because that was difficult for a lot of drivers tonight.
I honestly don't even know how that happened. I've never raced at Willow Springs before. I've had maybe 6 to 8 laps before tonight, and I was just trying to rely on all my road course knowledge I have at other racetracks, and this kind of reminded me of a messed up Sonoma, so I just did what I do at Sonoma and kept my nose clean and kept my tires underneath me, and I was able to get around Presti there at the end.
Pretty phenomenal stuff here. Obviously, in Willow Springs, Presti obviously had a flat tire there at the end, which did not help his situation at all. Attrition was the name of the game. You talk about how difficult this racetrack is, having not raced it before. It was a lot of fun to watch the race, at least from up here. What was it like racing? Obviously, trying to learn on the fly here as well, making things a little more complicated. But once everyone got down to business, what was it like racing here at a track that was one of the historics for open wheel racing in the United States for several years?
racing at this track. Actually, it was more fun than I thought it was going to be. I actually liked it, so I didn't think I was going to do that tonight. But uh, once I started to figure out where the bumps are, figured out where I'm not supposed to hit, um, and knew where I needed my car, then it was just easy to take it easier in those corners. And once I felt more comfortable, I started to push it, and I found track limits a couple times. But this track was a blast tonight, and I would definitely love to race it again.
It was a lot of fun watching this car rip around the 93 for Orlando Outlaws, doing a phenomenal job getting on the podium here tonight. Your second top 5 of the season helps you significantly in the point standings, closing in on that top 10 conversation where it is so super close. We do have a wide open race next Thursday. It is the iRacing Super Speedway. What's the feeling going into that race, knowing that it's full boost, full pressure, going into one of the longest racetracks on the calendar?
I don't know. It's a super speedway. It's what I hate in the Cup cars, and I'm probably going to hate it even more in the Indy cars. So, just hopefully stay in the back like I do in a next gen, and hopefully they reckon I can take advantage.
A little bit of attrition, a little bit of opportunity for DJ Trout here, finishing third in Rosamond, California. DJ, before we let you go and let you obviously debrief and celebrate your podium here tonight, if there's anyone to shout and say thank you to, the floor is yours. Congrats on your first podium of the season, and hopefully we get to talk to you again this season.
Thank you. Big thanks to Bobby Blowers. I would have not figured out where to put anything in this IndyCar if it wasn't for him helping me here tonight. And thank you for you to broadcasting cart. Also, big thanks to Orlando Outlaws for giving me the chance to drive for them.
A phenomenal job for DJ Trout, car 93 in P3 tonight here in California. We'll see him again next Thursday in iRacing Super Speedway over in the fictional racetrack in Massachusetts. DJ, congratulations, and we'll talk to you again on Thursday, hopefully.
Thank you.
Phenomenal job for the Nebraska native, finishing third here tonight for Orlando Outlaws Esports. They've got some silverware coming home to them. We move forward to David Cook Jr. Very interesting strategy calls for the 71 car, who started this race in third, battled for the race lead all race long, grabbed the lead early, used up all the push to pass in the first half of this race, but tried to battle it back at the end. David, walk us through that race. Walk us through the decision to use your push to pass early, and whether or not that was the right call to make later on in this race when both you and Rick were trading fastest laps.
Yeah, I just thought, I could get away maybe early on and build a little bit of a gap, but it just never happened. I think the draft down those straightaways was just too great, and you just couldn't get away. So I tried that strategy and it didn't work. So, had to go with the ladder and hope that Rick would, run out towards the end and I could try to fight him.
It was you two all race long. Obviously, it was a tight fight. There was 4 of you there at the start. You two had the best long run pace. It looked like you had the best handle of the tires, at least the primary tires at the end there. Did you feel more confident on those primary tires? Because you had the push to pass at the beginning on the alternates, ran out there, and then you had to use the primaries just for what they were good for there. Was the primary your better tire?
Yeah, I felt a lot more comfortable with it for some reason. It just didn't feel as twitchy to me going around some of the corners, and I was able to get my throttle down a lot sooner with the primaries. So, yeah, I just had a lot more confidence with the corners and everything with that tire. So, yeah, that's what I tried to do at the end there, and just manage my tires and just lay off the throttle and make sure the tire stayed within where I needed it to be. And yeah, just prayed I had a little something at the end, and I tried it on the last lap, but it just wasn't quite enough.
This race, very critical. Obviously, it's been feast or famine for several drivers this season. It's a very tight field here in kart on a normal basis. Top 15 going into tonight. Obviously, this race will help you out significantly as far as closing in on the top 10 and the top 5, especially here as we head into iRacing Super Speedway. How important was this result as far as just getting the season on track?
Oh, it was big. Yeah, it was huge tonight. And that was kind of the main thing is fighting with the top 4 there is a little hairy because I'm thinking to myself, I'm in 15th right now in the standings, which is not great, and I really need a good run tonight. But you got to show up every time you race, and give up your best performance. And so, yeah, so we try to do. I'm really excited. Yeah, that should really help out in the championship run and just consistency now. And hopefully we can start getting some wins. And I think Rick hit the history books tonight in Kart League. So congrats to him. And that was an awesome win. Great battling with him and DJ and Nicholas and everybody. So, yeah, good race tonight. That was a lot of fun.
And we go from one crazy racetrack to another, from Willow Springs to iRacing Super Speedway. It's going to be a pack race oval with the full boost pressure that we see for 8,500 qualifying typically. What's the feeling going into that race other than absolute chaos?
That's just about it, I think, huh? It's just hoping and praying that you have a good race there and you don't get caught up in one of the big ones. But we'll see. That track's just kind of, arms up in the air. We'll see what happens.
Well, before we let you go and let you celebrate your podium here tonight in Willow Springs, if there's anyone to shout and say thank you to, the floor is yours. A phenomenal job tonight. A very entertaining race at the front of the field. You kept it very entertaining, and you kept Rick honest all night long.
Thanks. Yeah. Hey, shout out to you. You do a great job for us every week. Shout out to Rick, DJ, Nicholas, everybody having a good run tonight. Shout out to Lance Anthony that runs the league. He did my paint, which is a tribute to Dan Gurney, his 1968 Indianapolis 500 car. So, yeah, that was pretty cool to run that tonight and show it for Dan and, show his paint scheme tonight. So, yeah, thanks, everybody. My parents, I'm sure they're watching. Everybody out there, friends, family, thanks, everybody. Hopefully next time we can get the W.
It's going to be a tall order to try to survive in iRacing Super Speedway next Thursday. He survived and thrived tonight. David Cook Jr. finishing second here in California. Congratulations, and we'll hopefully talk to you again next week in iRacing Super Speedway.
Thanks so much. Thanks, fans. Thanks for everybody watching. Appreciate you. See you this week.
A phenomenal job by David Cook Jr., second place. He kept the race winner honest, but it is history making for that 7 car. Rick Ravon, 5 in a row. From the Indianapolis 500 all the way to the Grand Prix of Rosamond here in California. He said, keep an eye on that 71 car. He was going to be strong tonight. That 7 car just a little bit stronger when it mattered. Rick, walk us through that battle with 71 all night long. You called it, but you're able to better it. Just absolutely phenomenal fight all night long tonight.
I'm not really sure, to be honest with you. I remember certain parts of the race. I know this is going to sound really weird, but I remember Ayrton Senna said one time he slipped into a state of like subconsciousness or something. He was at Monaco, and I was like, yeah, I think I know what he's talking about. Where you're not even really paying attention. You're not even aware. You're just like, it's just like happening. And I think it was around lap 3 when that actually happened to me. And I don't remember too much about the race. I just remember I took it easy on the start and I let the other 2 go, and I was just hanging with them. I knew we had the pace. And then second place, who was it? Tucker Salyer.
Yeah.
He made a mistake, and I got by him, and then I reeled in Cook and just kind of stayed with him until the pit stops. And after the pit stops, I knew I had to. When he pitted a lap before I planned on pitting, I knew I had to have a really good lap before the pit. When I came out on cold tires, I knew that was going to be the disadvantage. And, and I saw him coming up and he got me, and there was a little traffic, and then I got him back, and it was just a matter of holding on to it for the rest of the race. And that's pretty much it. I'm just kind of in shock. I can't believe 5 in a row. I can't believe it. I mean, I feel like Alex Palou.
I think a lot of people are going to say that, going to make that comparison. 5 in a row is hard to do anywhere. This was as it has been so many times this season, hard earned all the way through. Photo finishes, obviously Indy and Texas come to mind for the photo finishes. All race, it was battling somebody tonight, whether it was Pressy, whether it was Sawyer, whether it was Cook. You had someone to deal with all night long tonight. These are not given wins. These are earned race wins.
Oh, yeah, especially with Cook out there.
Absolutely.
On a road course? On a road course.
You called it as well last week. You said the 71 is going to be the guy that's going to be able to sort of be the measuring stick. And being able to bring out your A game, obviously you talk about sort of just slipping into the moment and just sort of being automatic in that process, in that fight. The consistency is so impressive here. And it's something that we don't see very often. We've been broadcasting for 6 years now, and we've never seen this level of consistency. The sky feels like it's the limit. That being said, you do enter the gauntlet next week with RS Super Speedway. It is sort of that random litmus test of just surviving at a track like that. What's the feeling going into that race next week?
Geez, let's see. I don't, man, oh man. I mean, if ever there's a lottery, it would be that race, or if we race at Talladega or Daytona, or, you know, one of those places where driver skill doesn't mean all that much. You just got to kind of keep your nose clean and stay out of trouble and hope to be in a position to win at the end. And that's about it. I mean, I don't have high expectations for that place. I'm not really looking forward to it. I just want to get it over with. Wherever I land, and let's move on to the next race where you can actually, do something, where I guess you have to actually drive the car. Oh, by the way, a code for my wife. My wife knows, FMW. That's for my wife, baby. I love you. FMW. You know what I'm talking about.
We speak about tracks where driver talent gets assigned through. Iris Super Speedway aside, Iowa and Pocono end out the month of June. You're starting out the month of June the way you went through the entire month of May, and that is with a race win. Before we let you go and let you celebrate and obviously get ready for the lottery that is RS Super Speedway next Thursday, Rick, if there's anyone to shout and say thank you to, the floor is yours. It's so fun watching this 7-car run around every week, and it's always impressive to see you run around here and grab these race wins, and it's always something different. Congratulations.
Well, thank you so much, Carmen. Thanks to you and ABN, of course, for broadcasting, and Lance Anthony, and I guess Bobby Blowers. I think they're part. I'm not sure exactly. I know Lance runs the league, and there's others involved. Thanks to everybody for putting on this league. Thanks to everybody for showing up. All the racers, all the drivers out there that showed up and race clean. My wife, of course, she's my number one here on earth. I love you, sweetheart. My kids, Mila, Zoe, I love you guys with all my heart. And of course, the Lord Jesus for dying on the cross for me. If it wasn't for him, I'd be heading for eternal hell. Thank you, Jesus. I love you with all my heart, all my mind, all my soul, and all my breath. And I just want to say congratulations, by the way, to David Cook. He is so much fun to race. You know, it's always a challenge with him, and especially on a road course. You had to dot your I's and cross your T's. And congratulations to DJ Trout. That was a great podium finish. And he's a good kid, man. It's good to see him up there. We'll see you next week, buddy. Thank you. God bless you. And you're still in my prayers. You always will be.
It is greatly appreciated. A phenomenal 5th win in a row for Rick Ravon here in Willow Springs. We'll see him go for 6 in a row next week in RS Super Speedway. Enjoy the race win, and we'll hopefully talk to you again in the same fashion next Thursday. Congratulations and enjoy it.
Thank you, buddy. Thank you. See you next week.
That was Rick Ravon, your race winner for the 5th straight time. Domination, but it's not been straightforward. It's been earned for the number 7 car here in the Crown Athletics IndyCar Series. And with that, we'll go through your full race results here from Willow Springs International Raceway. We heard from your podium finishers, Rick Ravon, from pole to a race win. It wasn't straightforward all night long. David Cook Jr. kept him honest, but could only manage 2nd place at the end there. DJ Trout grabbing a podium at the very end. Nick Presley suffering a flat tire on the closing laps here in Willow Springs. He finished 4th ahead of Lance Anthony, Brandon Statton, Bobby Blowers, William Rucker, Blue Jade, and Martin Roberg, your last cars to finish here in Rosamond, California. Louis Frazier, Tucker Sawyer, the first of the retirements here. Andy Duncan, Mirabella Viscali, Casey Ellis, and Brian Edwards round out the 16-car field here in California. We head coast to coast once again, from California over to Massachusetts to the fictional iRacing Super Speedway. The OGs will remember it as Coca-Cola Super Speedway from NASCAR Racing 2003. But we get to go there next week for a race in the Crown Athletics IndyCar Series. A lot coming up between now and then. On this weekend's broadcast, we have the High Octane Truck Series, their season finale from Kansas, Winstall Cup Series action from Watkins Glen, and next Monday it's the HTL Cup Series from Sin City, where they head to Las Vegas on Monday. You can catch all that on YouTube and on Patreon. We're glad you joined us here tonight. Stay safe and stay healthy. From California, I'm Carmen Sienna, signing off for ABN Studios. Enjoy your weekend, and we'll see you soon.